Well, we're doing our first ever via Zoom review here. I've been joined by Dave. How you going, mate?
Good, mate. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. And because we're joined by Dave, there's only one band we're going to be doing at this point in time, and that's Nightwish. With the new album, Human Nature, 17 tracks for 81 minutes, the ninth studio album, finished band released April 2020 via Nuclear Blast. Produced by Thomas Holopainen, Tiro Kinnunen, and Mikko Kamila at studios across England and Finland. Two singles have so far been released in Noise and Harvest. So far, it's charted pretty well across Europe and peaked at number 7 here in Australia. This is the band's first ever double album, and also the first with Kai Hato as an official member on the drums, even though he did perform on the previous release. So Dave, saying it's just you and I, how about you kick things off for us? You're the big fan, so let's see what you got to say.
Let's do this, okay?
Yep.
It's been out for about a week now, and I was planning to do a review as soon as it came out. But after a couple of listens, I thought I got to hold off on this because initially I was left very disappointed, being one of my all-time favorite bands that kind of hurt. So the first single that was released from the album, Noise, was absolutely brilliant. The video for that is brilliant as well. Really high expectations for what the whole album is going to be based on that.
Yeah.
And didn't deliver on that. That song is what you expect from Nightwish. So great leading track, didn't soften the blow. Okay, I'm going to address the elephant in the room to start with, the 31-minute, 8-part epic track on the second disc. All the works of nature which adorn the world.
Yep.
I wasn't expecting it to be a full classical piece. I was expecting it to be more like The Greatest Show on Earth, which closed the previous album, where you have classical elements of metal, dramatic bits, quieter moments, and it just didn't deliver on that. And as a strictly classical piece, it's still very one-dimensional. Stage presence.
All the way not a lot of tempo changes, so to speak.
Yeah, which can get for 31 minutes. If it was 10 minutes, would have been great. 31 minutes, it's just like, this is the same thing over and over. I forced myself to listen to it again, and it didn't change me. Heard it earlier again today, and it's a beautiful piece of music, but not something I'll go to. So, best way to address this album, ignore disc 2. And disc 2 is great bonus if you're into that type of stuff.
Yeah.
The title of this album, Human to Nature, is brilliant for what they're exploring. They've kind of gone back to what they started on Endless Forms Most Beautiful, the whole earth and nature and humanity and music and evolution. Very cool topic. And Thomas Holopainen has written some fantastic lyrics which just go brilliantly with the music he composes. The album opener music, which really builds up slowly, and it's almost like you're walking through an exhibition in a museum. It's like setting, if you're going through like the history of Earth, that'd be the type of music that you would listen to. And it's slowly, and the tribal drumming and the percussive elements really set the tone for what's to come. Floor Jensen, the singer, sounds amazing on this track and throughout the album. And once again, the lyrics that Thomas Holopainen has written, they're poetic and thought-provoking, and they really deserve more than just a passing moment of your attention. You have to sit down on the lyric sheet or check out
worth digging into.
Yeah, there's lyric videos on every track on YouTube.
Oh, cool. Well done. Yeah.
Yeah, so definitely worth. The lyrics of the first song, Noise, actually mentions the major scale. And very obvious, a lot of these songs are actually in a major key because they're really uplifting, and which is, once again, Nightwish has usually been a pretty dark band, so it's really good to hear. They've kept the sounds and they've gone a bit more uplifting, which is cool. I really like the guitar solo in Noise as well. It starts off with a flash, you're like, okay, this is going to burn. Then it gets really quickly back to the melody of the song, and then it finishes up really quickly. It's not to say, hey, I'm a cool guitarist. It really just serves the song. Which is great. Unless I'm mistaken, I could be wrong, but it's the only guitar solo on the whole album.
Yeah, there weren't many there. If that's not the only one, there aren't many at all.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the only one, which is interesting because MPO is a fantastic guitarist, but as they've moved more to the symphonic elements the past couple of albums, he's kind of backed off a lot, which, serves the song, serves the band, doesn't stroke his ego, which is awesome.
The band really feel like they've worked together well on this one. So they feel like they have really combined on this in a big way, for me anyway.
It's always been a big team. I mean, Thomas writes most of the album, presents it to the band, and then just take it from there. But it's always shared vision, for lack of a better term. The second track, Noise, which was the first song released. And if you haven't seen the video, make sure you do.
That's a great video.
It's fantastic. The themes and the song perfectly put a reflection on modern society and technology and how people are using it to glorify their own sense of self-importance. And it's perfectly placed on the album because it's polar opposite to the opening track. You got the first one focusing on nature and everything, and the second one's focusing more on corruption and technology and raping nature, for lack of a better expression. It's also Shoemaker. I'm pretty much going to get song by song commentary. I couldn't help it. The third track, Shoemaker, this is where things got really interesting. Paying close attention to this song. This reminds me of the early Nightwish, like Wish and Born, their second album, and Wishmaster, their third, but in a more mature presentation. Things start to get really interesting because some of this detail was lost on me. So I checked out what the song was about. It's actually about Eugene Merle Shoemaker, who is an American geologist and the founder of planetary science. So it's interesting that the last album was more agnostic and about the nature, and this one's more getting back to science explanations for things.
Almost feels a bit sort of steampunk. Yeah, almost. A little bit of that about it, yeah. And
there's a spoken reference in the middle from Jalapenian's wife, and it's from the Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. And after that, there's like this operatic section from Flora, and she says, "Laudatio si ado astra." I'm like, this needs the Google machine, because I have no idea this is intriguing. Laudatio si is actually a book written by Antonio Spinaro and Pope Francis. And according to Wiki, it's about the Pope's critiques on commercialism and irresponsible development, and laments environmental degradation and global warming. And the other one, Ad Astra, is a movie from 2019 about a lost space mission from 30 years ago and a rescue mission to Neptune. So there you go, Shakespeare, the Pope, and a sci-fi movie, all in one song, and I have no idea what all that means. But it's
here you go. Well, the words Ad Astra actually mean to the stars in Latin. I looked that up.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it's referencing that or referencing the movie. Yeah, he's got such a grand scope.
Either fit.
Yeah. Next up, Harvest. This is where we have the first vocals from Troy Denockley, the Indian pipe. Initially I thought it was Marco, but he sounded really different, so I double-checked that. And I wonder if it was Marco to sing on that originally, but to understand the reasoning behind it. It's a fantastic song. It's just very, very different to what Nightwish had done before. That was the first one. It's just like, okay, we're getting a completely new era of the band, which was actually pretty cool. Lyrically, it's beautiful. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff. And you get the impression that Thomas actually cares about what he's writing about.
A lot of care has gone into the lyrics and the overall craft of that side of things.
Yeah, everything's kind of related. But, So the next song, Pan, probably the heaviest riff on the album so far. And it contrasts really nicely with Flora's high-pitched notes that she does during the verse.
Yeah.
But put back and forth, pulling to and fro. So, I put it somewhere between Once and Imaginarium back in that era, but also once again, I'm guessing Pan is a reference to Peter Pan because Thomas is a huge Disney fan. All those early childhood themes. It's been a common reoccurring theme for Nightwish for the entire history of the band. But maybe
Pan is also there's a more Wiccan kind of tradition that revolves around Pan. So dig into that a bit deeper too. That might be there's an angle there.
Yeah, it references a lot about theatre and performance. So I was thinking maybe not Pan in itself as a story, but maybe the character in the sense of communication being theatre, one of the oldest forms of entertainment for humanity. That might be what was the influence there. How's the Heart? If you compare the lyrics on this to what he did back in 2007 with Dark Passion Play, that first song, The Poet and the Pendulum, which was basically a poetic musical suicide. He was in a really, really dark place. And he's in complete opposite. He's really happy and he's enjoying things. He's more concerned about others now. So he's in a great part of his life. And the band's completely different now. Floor's just had a baby. Marco's gotten married. Tom's gotten married. And they're not the same people they were. So their music is not going to be the same. which is awesome.
There's actual hooks in this as well, like, and not to take away from the complexity of things, but there's actual hooks in this music. Like there's parts that just stay with you, repetitive, like in a good way.
Yeah, that was a great song. It's definitely a standout. The Alien Pipes, they were a fantastic addition to the band. I'm glad he wasn't just a guest. Well, he was a guest originally, but they kept him, they toured with him. Yeah, he fits brilliantly. The melodic lines that they do kind of harmonise with the guitar and the Alien Pipes. There's more of them than solos, as I mentioned earlier, and that's really the new sound of Nightwish. You don't have to be flash, you just have to lock in with what everyone else is doing. Possession starts off slow. Once again, Flora has a great chance to shine with her voice, and the production is amazing on this album. Everything's captured really nicely. Her voice is, I don't know, it might be a long time.
Yeah.
It's really like it. And there's some really cool panning on the drums on this one. I was listening with headphones, and it just goes one to the other. Really nice. Tribal, probably the shortest but the heaviest song on the album, and Flora finally gets a chance to show off the heavier side of her voice. Yeah. Really stuff. And we finally hear some lyrics from some vocals from Marco. He's been criminally absent throughout most of this album. There's the title of this is perfect considering that midsection chant rhythm thing. Primal. Yeah, damn, it was cool. It's a short song, could be longer, but it probably would have wrecked it. So it's just one you crank over again. That'd be cool.
No, I do like that one a lot.
Yeah, that at Wacken, that'd be amazing with the whole.
That'd be great. Yeah. A live clip of that at a festival would be fantastic, actually.
That'd be very cool. Endlessness, Marco, lead vocals, finally. I love it. I don't know why he backed off so much for lead vocals on this. He usually takes a verse, or Floor will take a verse. But I suppose it's a different style, so it just didn't fit. But it's not so much that he usually does the cool metal stuff, but he also has a beautiful voice. So I don't know what caused him to back off. Well, he does sound different on this. Something about his delivery or tone. He is getting older, so maybe he might be losing his voice. You don't know. But this song is, while it's epic, it's not in the same level as Ghost Love Score or Song of Myself. But this is still be all get live. Almost finished it. Now, once you've fully immersed yourself in disc one and you fully get what's going on, you might be able to give disc two a second go. I gave it a third go today. And it is overlong, but depending on your mood, there is some amazing stuff on there. Very interesting thing that I noticed while doing some research, but it's actually the second last song, and through, I'm not even going to try and pronounce it, but it contains Iranian hymn to Nakal. I checked that out, and it's actually the oldest surviving complete work of notated music, which was found in the 14th century. It was found in northern Syria. And it just fits perfectly with the evolution of music. That's an idea for the whole album. And
that's really cool, actually. I didn't know that. Yeah.
These were inscribed on clay tablets, and they were dug up a few years ago. Yeah, from the 14th century. It's pretty cool.
Wow, that's really cool.
Interesting idea to add to something that's metal. I wouldn't necessarily call this a metal album or necessarily a symphonic metal album anymore. It's just music. Because the band has progressed past that label, they're their own entity. And the band's never been predictable, so in that respect, this album wouldn't be such a surprise. Because it's always grown. I've never known a band to be able to, for me, to consistently grow album after album. And it's just, they got to that point where, what the hell are they going to do? That's why they took such a big break. Had to recharge and come up with something new. It's a new chapter of the band, and I'm really I was disappointed to start with, but really glad they've taken this route. So I'm going to give this the lowest score I've ever given the Nightwish album, though, which is 9 out of 10. Everything else gets 10. Just get the 9. It'll probably grow over time, but I can't pick Standout, so all brilliant.
All right. No, it's interesting to get the because you're much more into this band than I've ever been into this band. Out of all of us at THRS, you're the Nightwish one that knows most about it. And so it's been really interesting to see, like, we put a post up and stuff and getting some of the comments back and forth. Some people really seem to be enjoying the switch in direction this album's taken. Other people really put off by it. So I think it's one of those ones where if this isn't what you're expecting, it's one of those ones that'll take time to grow on you, but I think it will grow on most people, even if they don't like it to start with. It's one of those sorts of albums that'll really get under your skin and stay with you in all the best ways. Sorry, Caesar's trying to hunt something under a table over here, so while he does that. All right. My review isn't as many pages as yours, so that's up. That's probably a record for you, just about, isn't it? I
Yeah,
suppose.
Green was only 2.
Yeah, I know. Oh, we've got the platform. We've got the Zoom platform for this, so it's not like we're doing this one for TV, so it's all good. Like this is still, like, for the switch in direction and sound, it's still big and grand, like you do expect from the band. It's different to a lot of other releases, not only from this band but also from the genre, which I think is really cool. This has a big. There's always something theatrical, but this one is more theatrical than most of the other ones. For what I got out of it, I think this is the perfect sort of music for listen to while you're playing fantasy games like Skyrim or long-term strategy games like Civilization. Like it fits that vibe. For me, there's a bit of a Game of Thrones element to it as well. Some musical things just reminding me of it, and I think it also would fit a TV show like that in some respects. Now, that might leave some people thinking that they don't want to hear this one because there's no metal in that, but there's plenty of that metal stuff in there. It's just these are the different switches in overall sort of tone and feel, not so much the instruments and the playing. There are some different tones in that being employed, but it's still very much a Nightwish sounding kind of a record. Plenty of balls on it, especially in the music, like some of the riffing in that, there was some intensity there, but also while the vocals weren't incredibly aggressive, like there aren't a lot of sort of the heavier growly vocals on this one, there's a certain strength in those vocals though that cut through in this. It's a very, I hate to use the term, but it's like an empowered feminine voice. It's really taken that front face on this one, and that's really interesting because that switches back and forth with the 3 different vocalists doing their thing at different points and taking different times. And each time the vocalist comes to the front, they actually take it and own it, which is really cool. There's a bit of darkness in this too, not as much as previous releases, and there's like the light and the hookiness that we talked about before, but there is still some darkness in this as well. And it's not a concept album, but there's certainly that theme of, life, renewal, all that sort of stuff going on in this, like the history of things like humanity and music in particular. I thought the lyrics were really well crafted, and I love the blending of the different vocalists, like I said, but it's also not only because they were coming forward and taking the strength, but they're also using it like different voices of characters to tell these stories, which is really well done. And when they sort of sung together, when there was harmonies and that going on, that fucking worked really well. I actually really enjoyed that switching up with the tones vocally and stuff. That was really cool. Thought the composition was good. There was a great use of space on this to open things up. I loved how each element, like from bass to drums to pipes to bagpipes to guitar to vocals, like everything gets their chance to shine. But nothing is overbearing. Like a lot of this sort of stuff, you'll find things like keys and certain tones like that will become overpowering in a lot of respects, but nothing was overpowering about this at all. It really well balanced from top to bottom, and there was little spoken touches that were really well executed on this too. I thought there was a great array of emotion on this in the writing and the performances. It was impressive in that regard. Okay, I think he got it. So he's still hunting something under a table. He's hit something, knocked shit over, and Niall is just freaked out on the other chair as well. So I don't know what he's doing. As I was saying, yeah, the emotion in the performances and the writing I thought was really well done. They swung for the fences by going for something different, but I think they actually did it really well. The different instruments, different tones they have switched things up from previous releases, like you were talking about the pipes or something that haven't really been done before. And that was a really cool addition to the sound, and the way it was used and the composition was really well done. Like the depth and the space and the mix, nothing is buried. Everything is crystal clear. You do get the panning, but I loved how you could hear everything so well. The great push and pull, and it's an easy album to sit back with this one. You can focus in on it and really delve into it, or you can sit with it in the background. Either way, it's just as rewarding, and it's great on speakers or headphones, whatever else. This sounds really good. It's easy to take in. The layering and the mixing was well done. Like I said before, there are some great hooks on this. I can appreciate my background in classical music allows me to dig into certain things of this a bit easier than I think a lot of people that don't have that background might struggle with a few elements of it. But if you're not a fan of this genre, generally speaking, this is not a bad album to sort of look into, because it does avoid a lot of the tropes that put a lot of people off of listening to this sort of music. It's not a typical symphonic metal album. It's probably a long way from it, actually, but it does still sound like Nightwish, which is an interesting thing to me. They've shifted from genre, but still sound like the band, which is not many can do that and sort of pull it off. I can understand why there's a bit of a mixed reaction right now among the fan base, but I think give this 12 months and we'll ask the question again. And that'll be really interesting to see what it does. I think it'll resonate a lot more strongly with people in 12 months than it does right now. I think if you're a fan of things like Edguy and Aerion in particular, this is a band or an album you should check out. This is very much like Nightwish taking on an Ed guy kind of a theme to me in a lot of respects. It worked well. Different flavors. The way they were presented in the track order too was really well done. Time flew by for me listening to this, and I don't normally associate time flying by with these kinds of records, but for this one, it did. The light and shade really broke it up nicely, made it really easy to take in. Disc 2, which is the elephant in the room, as you said earlier on, is an interesting development. This does feel a little bit, when you take a step back and try and take it all in, it feels like it is driven a little bit by ego. It's like, hey, look what we can do, this big, egotistical showing off of skill and talent and all that sort of stuff. Take that out of it, and it's an incredibly well done piece of music and a piece of art. It's just instrumental with some spoken words here and there. It won't be for everyone, but for me with a classical background, it was really easy to take in. It's just got, like when I was talking about ego before, there's this touch of arrogance about it. I don't know if you got the same thing as me, but there's just this bit of arrogance about putting that together on this album as the second disc and in the story that is being told at the beginning and the end, and it's very overarching so it does feel a bit arrogant, but at the same time, that arrogance also sort of ties in with the theme in a lot of respects because, if a species was talking about things like, all of Earth, all of humanity was always on this one tiny dust in the sky, like there's lyrics to that effect on there. And so if you're looking 10,000 years into the future and there's these beings, that have evolved from humanity looking back on this chapter, you can understand this sort of edge of arrogance to things, if that makes sense. Like that was the way we look at monkeys now, be the way they look at us today, kind of that attitude on things. And so in that respect, I didn't mind it because, there's a bit of ego and a bit of arrogance about it, but it also sort of ties into what they've done musically and the story being told from a certain perspective. So it depends on your point of view, but for me, it was actually interesting. The different tones on it, again, the way it was put together was all very well done. It does actually tell a story musically and with the little bits of, words in there. It's not terribly paced diverse and all that sort of stuff, but there is still a story in there. So it does take you through some emotions, and composition-wise in particular, I felt that. And across the board, from top to bottom, performances on this are fantastic. I think this is probably the best for me, taste-wise. I've heard Floor Jansen perform. I think this, for me, is the one that, because I usually criticize the female vocalists in this genre for being a bit thin and a bit weaker at times. And this one, there was just something about it that her vocal really stood out to me, and it was very empowering and very cool. But everyone from top to bottom played their part to perfection on these songs, and everything tied in really nicely. It was very well done. Very well put together from top to bottom for me. It is a bit longer, yeah, sure, but for me, I enjoyed it. So I don't know. For me, this is probably my favorite Nightwish album so far. So you can take that for what it's worth, because you're the diehard and I'm the one that's sort of a outside listener. And for me, I got into this one pretty easily. So I don't know, I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Have you heard Imaginarium yet?
Probably not. And if I have, it was a long time ago. I'll have to go and check that one out then.
That's the go-to album.
All right. I will have to check that out. You'll have to remind me to go and check that out. All right. I know you will now. Now that I've said you remind me, you're going to do it. Okay. I gave this one an 8.5 out of 10. I did pick Standout. I think Noise, Tribal, and How's the Heart, which are probably the three most diverse sort of cross-section sort of tracks across this one. That was my thoughts on it. So I think all in all, it's safe to say it's gone over pretty well. And you still gave it a 9, but you had the critiques of that it's your lowest score ever given to an album.
Everything else has got a 10.
Yeah, whereas this could probably be the highest score I've given to a Nightwish album. Could be. I'm not 100% sure of that, but this is the one that, even though I might have scored another one, maybe a 9, maybe, I'm not 100% sure, but for me, this is the one that this is going to stay with me for a while, because this is just, I thought it was really well done. It was different. It wasn't just another one of these albums. There was something about this, like, okay, I enjoyed that. So it was cool. Well done to them. For me, if you can drag someone else into it, this actually makes me more curious about the back catalogue. So I want to see their progression from then to now, kind of thing, and how they got to this point. Yeah. Now I'm curious.
It's very interesting. It's very fluid and natural. They started off as like simple power metal, then moved into the movie soundtrack, symphony type stuff, then the full-on orchestration, and now what began with the last album. This is a new era. So, very cool. Yeah, no, it's going to be very cool. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next. And if they come to tour this one, I might actually go and see them live on this one, whenever we get to go back to seeing bands. Got to see them.
Yeah, this would be good. All right. Well, I think we'll leave it there. Make sure you all out there give us your thoughts on this one as well. Have you got any parting thoughts you'd like to give everyone, Dave, or are you?
No, I'm good. think I've said
3
enough.
pages was enough.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you all for watching this video. Make sure you give us your thoughts on it as well. I'd be really curious to get the feedback from both people that haven't really gotten into the stand and also from the long-term fans. I'd like to get both sides of that coin, trying to see where this sits people. I think it'd be really, like I said, in 12 months from now, it'd be really interesting to come back to this one and see where people sit on it. Ask the question again in 12 months. Anyway, thank you for watching. We'll see you again soon with another review, I'm sure. Until then, drink up.
Rock on.
There we go.
Yeah, that went pretty cool.
Happy with that?
Yeah. Longest review I did ever.
Oh, for me? What is this? You're taller than my lap, you fuck.